and I've spoken a lot now, and my throat is completely dried. So let me take a break and pass it to Tristan and get Tristan some of your thoughts on what you think of everything that I've just talked about.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some good stuff there in the interview with Ben. I think the fact that they have kind of reduced the FUD and the issues with Riot that they've been having over this time, that I feel like has been kind of a damper on the company. I feel like that is a good sign for sure. Even if maybe they aren't getting exactly what they want, I think that it seems like they are going to come out of this more or less unscathed, which I think is very good for anyone who is a shareholder of Bitfarms itself. That being said, I think that there is still the potential for Riot to cause some more headaches for Bitfarms. So I don't think that we should discount the fact that they are still floating around like a shark in the water. So if Bitfarms flounders, I think that Riot would be happy to scoop them up, especially for a significant discount, as we've had established by their earlier attempts. Moving on to the kind of strategies and such that Bitfarms is looking at, I think that I do acknowledge that there is good opportunities in the HPC area. I think there is some similarities between Bitcoin mining and HPC, but I do appreciate that it may be something that that wouldn't be beneficial to go into too hard. And on that front, I think I appreciate their willingness to investigate it, but at the same time, I do think that it's an area where they can investigate and make a decision based on the results of that investigation. I think it's something where I wouldn't be super happy if they were going ridiculously hard in, because I think that as a space, there's a lot of hype with it, and until we've proven that the hype is legitimate and that there is actually anything to come from this, I think that it can be a bit of a risky endeavor, because if everyone pivots significant amounts of capital to HPC and then HPC just turns into something that is not going to be as necessary as initially thought, or the capacity needs some time to catch up to the number of people who are willing to provide it, then we are running into another area where they may be overexposed to a new industry that has not been fully understood. And to clarify, it's not just the fact that HPC is like a new industry itself. It's more so about the fact that the demand for it is much higher because of the AI additions that have come to light in the last couple of years. And because of that fact, this area has exploded in popularity and profitability. So until that kind of hype and that requirement has been clearly figured out, it is a bit more of a risky area, because, for example, if they need more HPC, then maybe this is a really good space. But if they need less HPC than they're currently getting set up, or if they're building out with the expectation that there's going to be more of a requirement in the future, and there isn't more of a requirement in the future, then I think it does prove to be a risky endeavor. Whereas I think that the Bitcoin mining strategy is, by and large, a fairly consistent strategy that has had a reasonable degree of predictability for the last few years. That being said, Bitcoin is obviously a volatile asset, so there is the fact that can also play a role in the stock itself and the company's profits. So I think that when it really comes down to it, if we circle this back to why someone might invest in Bitfarms over something else. I think most of the investors who are here for the Bitfarms are here for the Bitcoin. We're really in it for the Bitcoin mining play. And on that front, it's not that I think that most people are against HPC per se. It's just that they're really in it for the Bitcoin mining. So if the HPC is there to kind of help smooth out some of those crypto winters and areas and times when Bitcoin is down and the miners are no longer as profitable, and it allowed the miners to maybe build up more of a hodl for a future Bitcoin run, then I think that that's something where HPC has a lot of value. But at the same time, it's something that is not as much of a necessity as it could be. So I do think that, in my opinion, like if they're able to build out some HPC sufficient that it can cover the majority of the base expenses and reduce the degree of which they need to sell Bitcoin in a crypto winter, I think that's one area where the Bitfarms will get a lot of value from, because if they're able to hodl a bunch of their mining from in a crypto winter where they'd be selling it at maybe like 80% of what they'd be getting previously, I think not 80%, 20%, 30%, 40%. They're going to be missing out on a lot of potential gains just from holding on to that Bitcoin in the long run. So, and we could see that in some of these other companies, like Hut 8 did really well for the most part with its hodl stack, keeping their hodl and surviving the crypto winter and never really being in much real danger of going under. And I think that that's kind of like something where Bitfarms may want to try and have that security that makes the investment a little bit safer for holding on to longer term. And then I just want to chat about Stronghold a little bit. And with regards to Stronghold, I always thought that Stronghold was an interesting scenario, an interesting company, because they had a lot going for them. They had their own power generation, they had their own power, they had a significant amount of capacity to build out miners, but they were kind of in a weird spot where to really take advantage of that, they needed significant investment. And to get that significant investment, they were looking at they took on copious amounts of loans at a time when it was not particularly ideal to be taking out loans. And so they kind of got a little bit stuck there. And so because of that, the company itself, I think I agree with Ben's assessment that the company itself may not have been the best run in the world, but the assets and the equipment that they had was actually quite good. So, and their locations particularly. So, taking that into account, they had a lot of potential in the long run for an acquisition by a company that, when it comes right down to it, has got their head squared on straight. They know how to build out facilities. They know how to power them. They know how to keep the lights on. They know how to, take advantage of all this power, and they have the capital. And so that's kind of what Bitfarms brings to this agreement, is they have that larger backing of basically a competently run company that didn't basically get murdered in the crypto winter, and was unrecoverable, whereas Stronghold was essentially murdered in crypto winter and was not going to be recoverable on that front. So because of that fact, Bitfarms ended up in a really good spot to take possession of them. And I think that this is going to be in the long run very beneficial for Bitfarms as well. The fact that they're able to deploy miners to Stronghold's location before then, I think that that's really helpful for speeding up their process. And honestly, it gives them more capacity to even add on more Bitcoin miners than they're currently projecting, because if now they're able to host some in at Stronghold's locations, maybe they can order more new ones for Paraguay, etc. As it builds out, and still be able to hit that target or even surpass it. And I think that it's overall just a pretty good sign for the company itself. I think I'm not super concerned about them having any financial issues at this time. I do think that in the long run, in the midterm, so next couple of years, I think that Bitfarms will be doing very well, particularly with this Bitcoin bull run.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything that you just said. And like, let me just say that there is a reason why Bitfarms is my biggest Bitcoin mining position. I won't say exactly how much, but I have a lot of my own personal money in Bitfarms and like in Bitcoin miners in general, but Bitfarms is the biggest out of those companies that I am in. So yeah, I just think that Bitfarms has such a great like growth trajectory, and this Stronghold acquisition, like I still think maybe they did overpay a bit, but as Ben explained, they had to outbid 3 or 4 other companies that were trying to acquire Stronghold's assets. So I can, in retrospect, given that context, I can understand why they paid what they paid, because it's like, yes, Stronghold was kind of like on its way down, and it probably would have gone bankrupt eventually. But at that point, then like like it would get acquired by another company, right? Like it'd be like there's still people that are willing to shell out good money for this company, even though it's not, as you said, Tristan, the best run company. But yeah, I think that Bitfarms did what was needed to actually propose a deal that Stronghold would accept. And I think they probably this deal was like in the talks for like 3 years, I think it was. So I'm sure that Bitfarms did all they could to get the best price possible. And what we saw with the deal, that was probably the best price possible considering how long they've been negotiating at this, right? So all in all, I'm like super bullish on Bitfarms, obviously. And after this interview, I think like it's just kind of reaffirmed my bullishness. It didn't exactly make me like more bullish, because I don't think there was anything that was announced or said during the interview that was totally surprising, to be honest. But it reaffirms my bullishness, and I'm already super bullish on it. So like, there's no need to like make me even more bullish, or else I'm gonna have to like start selling this like table and chairs and stuff to buy more Bitfarms. So maybe one final thing before we move on to the story. I know that like back to the Riot situation, uh, people were expressing some concerns that what happens after this November vote, right? So either they get this board member in or they don't. If they do get this board member in, then it'll only be like 2 out of I think 6 total board members that Riot like appointed. That was one of them was the compromise, right? Like where Bitfarms was also okay with it. And then the other person, let's just say it's the person that's they are trying to add, and let's say that they get in, right? So let's say that person gets in, and then Riot has 2 out of 4, 2 out of 6 board members that are on their side that will vote in favor of a potential acquisition. That's probably still not enough, because I think you would need more than half of the board members to be on your side, right? So assuming that even if this vote passes, I don't think that there's like a realistic way for Riot to actually acquire Bitfarms unless they're willing to actually put out an offer that Bitfarms shareholders would accept.